Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Cloud Accounting Podcast, a show for accountants and controllers using cloud technology to improve efficiencies and make their jobs more strategic and impactful. This show is brought to you by Flowcast, close management software created by accountants for accountants to help them close the books faster and more accurately. I'm your host, Blake Oliver, and joining me today is Tom Gabbert. Tom is a CPA. He is also the founder and managing director of mAccounting, an Indianapolis-based CPA firm specializing in outsourced accounting, tax, and CFO services to small and mid-sized companies. In 2015, mAccounting was recognized as one of the most progressive accounting firms in the nation when it was selected as an Intuit Firm of the Future. Prior to launching mAccounting, Tom spent 14 years in the technology industry as a CFO and controller. He's also a self-professed Excel geek. Tom, thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
Really happy to speak with you. And first of all, I just want to say I love the name of your firm, mAccounting.
Oh, thank you.
Smith, Barney, and Jane.
That's right.
So I'm wondering, have you always been mAccounting? How did that name come about?
No, we haven't actually. Our first name was Milestone Advisors. And we had, there were too many people that came up to us and said, I'll bet I know what you do, thinking that we were wealth management advisors, and we weren't. And so our common response was, I'll bet you don't. And then we'd go on to tell them what we did. But really, the name change came about 4 years ago when we had a desire to grow our firm beyond just our Indianapolis area. And we wanted to play on a national stage. And so the name Milestone Advisors didn't really work. There are too many, Milestone is too generic, too many milestones out there. It didn't really tell the world what we did. So we decided to rebrand and go with mAccounting. Obviously, it says what we do with the accounting part, but we also wanted to keep the M in there. And the M has kind of a dual purpose meaning. Part of it is a legacy throwback to the Milestone days. But more importantly, it's an emphasis on the mobile aspects of what we do.
Interesting.
We are cloud-based accounting. We have been for some time now, and we believe that really drives efficiency and creates a real win-win for us and for our clients. So anyway, we love to tell the world that we are mobile and you can get your information anywhere, anytime.
Well, that's great because so many firms these days don't have mobile solutions or don't really understand that their clients are mobile. So I'm wondering, is there anything else in addition to having that cool name and being mobile friendly? What else makes mAccounting different?
Yeah, so, I'm going to start with kind of a cliche answer, and it's our people, but it is absolutely true. mAccounting, we put a real emphasis on hiring the right kind of people, and we're looking for not just good number crunchers, but folks that are good accountants. Obviously, they have to be good at that part of their job, but we want them to be really good people. They have to be good communicators. They have to have an entrepreneurial focus. They have to be passionate about what they do every day. So the people is the most important thing. But I would also tell you that we have a real strong emphasis on client experience in our firm. We have a mantra around here that, we're trying to turn accounting from a necessary evil into a strategic advantage. That's a saying we like to put out there, but it's more than just a saying. We really want to create an experience for our clients where we make it easy, first of all. So their part in the equation has to be easy. And what they get out of it has to be true value add. And I believe, the shift we made several years ago to move everything to cloud-based accounting has been a big driver in that. We spend far less time today getting information into the system and making sure it's right, which used to be, a large part of the accountant's role back in the day. We spend much less time doing that now and more time, looking at what the numbers are telling us and interpreting that for our clients and helping them make smart decisions. So that's all wrapped into this client experience that I was talking about. And I feel like as a firm, we've made this pretty dramatic shift into a trusted advisor role. And that creates a real positive experience for our clients.
So that's interesting. It's very different than the accounting of 20 years ago.
Absolutely.
Where do you think the profession is heading in the next 5 or 10 years?
Yeah, so I think we're at the forefront of a pretty significant change, and part of it is driven by technology, as we just talked about, and that's not necessarily new news. But I think a lot of firms are slow to embrace it, and I think that's a mistake because it's not going away. I think cloud tools create efficiency and opportunity to add value, like we just talked about. We spend much less time doing the mundane tasks and more time doing the value added stuff. And that creates a real win-win. I mean, our clients are getting more value for the money that they spend, and accountants are spending more time doing rewarding work. So I guess that's the first thing is, technology changes are coming fast and furious. We go to a number of conferences every year to kind of see what's out there on the horizon. And every year I'm just blown away by the new advances in technology that are out there and available to small business owners and accounting firms. It's exciting. I've never seen a time like this for the accounting profession. So technology is the first thing. And then, a second part of my answer would be that, there's an emergence of outsourced accounting services. And that's near and dear to our heart. But you think about the old school accounting, there was audit and there was tax, and there were two disciplines. And for years, that's how it's been. And I would say in the last several years, we've seen that shifting where now outsourced accounting services has become a third legitimate discipline. And even the larger firms, the national firms, the regional firms, if they're not doing it now, if they're not going in that direction, I think they're talking about it in their strategic sessions, and it's probably going to become part of the roadmap. So I think that's coming. And then the third thing that I would say, kind of where the profession's going, that I think kind of piggybacks on that trend is that colleges are going to have to adapt. I think. Right now I have a senior who's graduating with an accounting degree. And so I've had a firsthand experience with him, but we've also been on the recruiting trail a lot. And, what most students hear kind of over and over is you have to choose a path. You have to go audit or tax, and audit or tax. That's all they talk about. And I think with the emergence of, this third path, this outsourced accounting services path, students are going to have choices, and they're going to realize they have choices. And I think it's going to force some change at the colleges where they have to change their curriculum a little bit, and they have to embrace, maybe some teaching kids some of the real world tools and giving them some of these, software applications to use in projects in class so that they come out with maybe a different skill set that lends itself toward this third discipline that I was mentioning.
So you mean doing T-charts by hand isn't going to cut it anymore?
I hope that goes away. Yeah, no, it's probably a good foundational thing we should all learn a little bit, but I would love to see kids come out of school having used QuickBooks, having used Bill.com, having used Expensify, Fathom, some of these tools that are out there that we're using in our daily lives that really make a difference. I'd love to see them come out and hit the ground running.
Well, I agree with you 100%. I will say that it was incredibly valuable to me to learn how to do a statement of cash flows by hand.
Yeah.
But other than that,
yeah.
And we had no training whatsoever in any accounting systems. I think that QuickBooks was an elective you could take, and it was offered once a year.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, that's right. It's been interesting as we have made the recruiting rounds and we're telling kids, what we do. We've been getting these blank stares like, you mean there's a third option? We don't have to do audit, or we don't have to do tax. So
and why do you think that the education system is still so focused on audit and tax?
I just think they're behind. I don't think it's a purposeful thing. I just think that, the whole outsource arena has really evolved in the last, particularly the last 5 years. But, companies are more comfortable outsourcing, whether that's HR or marketing or IT and now accounting. That's really evolved a lot in the last 5 years. And so that discipline is relatively new. And I think colleges are somewhat playing catch up.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. The pace of change in academia is even slower than the pace of change in public accounting, which is pretty slow to begin with.
I think that's right. Absolutely.
Well, so one of the big perks of using technology in your firm is that a lot of things that used to take a lot of time don't anymore. So right. I'm wondering how, in addition to technology, how do you create the firm and the life that you want?
Yeah, so that's a good question. One of the smartest things I did a couple of years ago, I was invited and asked to join a peer group, which was a group of other small business owners And that was a fantastic decision for me. One, it gets me out of my routine once a month, and I get to go in the group and I get to, just think strategically and hear input from others. It's been great, but it also has forced me to look at my business differently, and it's created some accountability for me. So that decision, I think, for me, sparked a lot of change. That was the kind of that spark that got me to think differently. So in terms of, the life that I want, I made some kind of fundamental changes. I started restructuring our group. We started with a leadership structure where we put in place industry practice leaders that were dedicated to their niche and had the expertise. And I gave them the freedom and flexibility to grow their practices and empowered them to do it, and didn't feel the need to make the decisions anymore, make all the decisions anymore. And I'll tell you that was liberating because I hired a fantastic group of people that and I just needed to trust them and turn them loose and let them do their thing. And some great things started happening. So when you do that and you get people in the right spot on the bus, then it allows me to kind of step back and do things differently and spend my time a little differently. So I have gone from probably spending 80 or 90% of my time on client service to probably 50% or less on client service, and the other 50% on the firm, focused on growing the firm and thinking about strategically where do we want to go with the firm. So anyway, that's a little of the backstory. And I've worked hard on work-life balance, which is one of our core values at mAccounting. Crazy things like, just thinking about working remotely. I get down to Charleston, South Carolina is my second home. I love it down there. And I get down there as often as I can. And I'm now, finding ways to get down there for a week or two at a time and work remotely, and it's all kind of created this life that I want, where I still have a very productive firm. In fact, we've never been better. And yet I'm not stuck in the old way of doing things where I was a slave to my office and, a slave to the same schedule and, that kind of thing. So anyway, it's changed a lot.
You're a business owner as opposed to a service professional.
That's right. Exactly.
So now that you have this free time, what do you like to do outside of work?
Yeah, good question. Well, I'm a photographer. I've been an amateur photographer for a long time. It goes back to my college days. And so I love to travel. My wife and I love to travel, and I love to drag my camera around and take landscape photography pictures. And we have several of them in my office. And so that's a fun hobby for me. And I got to say too, I'm a diehard Cub fan too. So
baseball is a serious time commitment.
It is, and I am passionate about my Cubs, so I'm a sports fan.
Awesome. Well, Tom, that's all the time we have today. Thank you so much for joining me, and thanks to everyone for tuning in. If you're interested in learning more about accounting technology and following these podcast episodes and the latest accounting news, please subscribe to my newsletter at cloudaccountingweekly.com. And Tom, where can our listeners learn more about mAccounting or connect with you online?
Yeah, so you can connect with me personally at my email, tgabbert@maccounting.com, or visit us on the web at maccounting.com.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This was fun.